It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports,
Sports don't stop, and neither do we. Welcome to 365 Sports, your home for real conversations, original shows, and coverage that lives where sports actually happen. Join David Smoke, Craig Smoke, and myself, Paul Catalina, for in-depth interviews and local stories to the moments national media misses. 365 Sports brings you the voices, debates, and perspectives fans care about every single day. Subscribe now on YouTube, search 365 Sports, and never miss a moment because sports aren't seasonal. They're 365.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. That's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
Just use AMP-Pace.
Pace.
With Ease US, make studio quality voiceovers for your videos online in over 149 languages and dialects, featuring 468 natural AI voices. Customize the volume, mood, and pauses to perfectly match your content. Plus, capture high quality videos with no watermark. Record your screen, webcam, and voice, and save them instantly to your computer. Never been easier to create professional grade videos and voiceovers. Try it today at easeus.com. That's EASEUS.com. Ease US. Since our founding, we've been revolutionizing hair removal with cutting-edge technology and a commitment to empowerment. The U-Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. Experience the future of hair removal today at ulike.com, because at Ulike, beauty is about looking and feeling good. That's ULIKE.com. Ulike.
Hey, it's Matt Mosley of the Matt Mosley Show. We want you to watch our show every day, 1 to 3 on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. And you get to see big name guests like Gary Patterson, Art Briles, Scott Drew, Doug McNamee, major Cowboys insiders, ESPN legends like Sal Palantonio. When news breaks on Cowboys or Baylor or NFL, we want you to look here first. 1 to 3 weekdays, it's the Matt Mosley Show.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Here we are, presented by Slovacics. We've got an IFB in today, so we're not going to have any kind of echo. This was all Cam Stewart's doing. I mean, he's producing the hell out of this show, okay? Because I have an IFB for other studio shows I do, and I thought to myself, why not use that instead of that janky, like I had like the things coming down when we were in Stillwater. So yeah, we seem kind of professional. We actually, I had some time this morning, went over to the studio. I do want to give a big shout out to my man, Chris Visser. I have an executive at ESPN who has like taken an interest in me because I took an interest in them years ago. Was like, hey, like, we go over some games once in a while. And he was like, and to be totally transparent, he was like, I saw your UAB call on Sunday. I loved it. But down the stretch, there were pockets where you could have given a little more energy. Would you like to watch it with me? And of course, I'm like, please. So we get on a call this morning, and I do it right from here. And the guy's so cool. And he's a play-by-play junkie, and he looks over my shoulder. He's like, dude, what are those? I'm like, oh, those are boards from Dick Stockton's international feed of the Super Bowl. And I guess it was Super Bowl 48. No. Yeah. Super Bowl 47 or 48.
Are you talking about Patriots Eagles?
Yeah.
39.
39. God, that was 21 years ago. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So Super Bowl 39. And we talked about how Visser gave him to me. We talked about Dick Stockton. It was a really cool convo. And, you know, I'm sure it further ingratiated me with this guy. So way to go, Vis. One thing I'll say for any young broadcasters out there, this includes you, Stuart. Mike Tirico was on Rich Eisen yesterday, and there was a 7-minute clip at the end of that was broadcasting gold. Like, I'm just going to say it. If you want to see it, you can go check it out yourself. I'm not going to retweet it and put in all caps this. Okay. That's what Cam would do. He likes to do that.
Bro. Have we had this discussion? That's like my least favorite thing ever.
It's the core, dude.
This. Or Pete Sousa is everything. Pete Sousa is exactly what we needed right now. You know, it's like the pandemic, and it's like Elmo talking. It's like, this is everything. This is I hate that, but
when it's in all caps, it's worse. Well, it's funny because we're going to start with, like, you know, I think those people who can tend to rattle your cage a little bit when you feel like they're sitting in judgment of you or whatever, or they're trying to kind of speak down to you from a soapbox, like, you need to this, right? I think some people are doing that with Eileen Gu. Okay. Like, and I think that the folks that are connected to missions like that or efforts like that, like this, what she's so perfect and what she's saying, like, I think that's right. This is our Milan coverage now. I think that we can say the affiliation with those types of people, with her comments and them rooting her on, right? Also, obviously, it's undeniable. She's skiing for China, right? She's one of the best freestyle skiers in the history of the world, but she's doing it for China. And obviously, that's a little jarring for people in America. And it's also like, forget that she's representing another country, but there are things tied to China that are no bueno. I think we can all agree on. But her mom is 100% Chinese. She grew up in San Francisco. She speaks Mandarin. She has like deep roots in her Chinese heritage. The roots run very deep. And, you know, she said, interestingly enough, that, and you can debate this, but you really can't debate how she feels. And, you know, it's like a therapy thing. Like, this is how she feels. So take it or leave it. She feels as though she could do more good for young Chinese women who see her representing their country, as opposed to if she's representing America, she gets lost in a sea of other celebrities. Now, you could say, as I read this morning in The Athletic, part of her excitement about skiing for China could be that she's getting like $6.6 million from like a Beijing athletic committee, when in the United States, there's like a Go Gold committee. It's like you get 40 grand if you win a gold medal. Now, her endorsements also is another avenue. When you go down that lane and you think about internationally, what she could probably get paid over in China as compared to America. But I mean, there's really no global cutoff for your reach, right? She could be representation. She could represent America, right? And there's no cut line for her, but maybe she wouldn't be received with the same excitement fiscally and spiritually and fan wise for people. And thank you for taking that down, Cam, for people in China, right? Even though she's a Chinese American, if she was representing America, they may not take to it. And, you know, you get the dollars and cents, how it works there. But but I think it's not a big a deal as some people are making it. I don't think it's a big deal at all. I think it's a young woman who made this decision. And by the way, I believe, I'm not quite sure what her status is. I believe she could go back and represent America. Cam, if I'm wrong about that, am I wrong about that?
I'm actually not sure about that. I know how it works in team sports, but I'm not
how's
sure
it work
how
in
it
team
works for
sports?
skiing. Like for soccer, for example, once you play for that team at a senior level, you can't switch.
What about USA Hockey?
That I haven't seen because, Pete, we haven't seen that envelope pushed in USA Hockey. There's just a bunch of
what do you mean?
I guess. Like
Oh,
we haven't
okay.
we haven't seen an
No.
American player that like plays for the US as like a teenager, for example, or like the World Junior Championships.
But let's look at it this way.
Level goes to that.
Del Harris, and this just came to me. That's why I jumped in. Del Harris, coach in Puerto Rico, as their international head basketball coach. I can't imagine he would have been refused. Like if, Jerry Colangelo wanted him to be on the USA basketball staff, I'm sure he would have been able to coach USA basketball. That's my first thought, an example. So maybe she could come back, but that's neither here nor there. The point of this is I feel as though she is being put out there in a very negative fashion, and a lot of it is connected. I didn't know who she was. I mean, as famous as she is, and I guess she's very famous, and she's objectively beautiful. I'm putting that out there before you see the clip, because we are, whether we like it or not, it's an optics, it's a visual medium. Television is, right? We're an optics-based society a lot of times, right? Whether it's right or wrong. So I think she really moves the needle when she's on camera. And this quick soundbite has gotten everybody so riled up, and I think it's crap. Cam, let's play the soundbite. This is from a day or two ago, and this is her responding to a question about winning silver as opposed to winning gold. Go ahead, Cam.
So do you see these as 2 silvers gained or 2 golds lost?
I'm the most decorated female free skier in history. I think that's an answer in and of itself. How do I say this? Winning a medal at the Olympics is a life-changing experience for every athlete. Doing it 5 times is exponentially harder because every medal is equally hard for me, but everybody else's expectations rise, right? And so the 2 medals lost situation, to be quite frank with you, I think is kind of a ridiculous perspective to take. I'm showcasing my best skiing. I'm doing things that quite literally have never been done before. And so I think that is more than good enough. But thank you.
By the way, Cam, she's not speaking Mandarin there. We didn't need the closed captioning, but thank you.
Oh, I just wanted to make sure, Pete. I've heard so much scuttlebutt about the double agents and stuff, so I just had to make sure that we had the transcription right. Okay, that was just me being perfect. A journalist getting it right.
It was perfect. Baylor Lariat guy. All right, so that was gut-wrenching from a delivery standpoint. I mean, that was sort of cringe. The way that she started off with that was just hard. It was difficult to embrace and connect with, to the point where I think a lot of people are out on that for 10, 15 seconds. But the back end of what she said totally made sense. And when you consider the root of this, right? Like, she has gone on the record, and I have not heard her, and I could be wrong about this. I'm not going to pretend to be a freaking expert on this, but I've not known her to bash America. Okay. I have not known her to be like anti, like certain political aspects, right? Like, she's embracing her mother's heritage, and she feels it's important to, again, speaking optics, give an identity to young Chinese girls who want to participate in the Winter Olympics. But that was such an awkward, cringeworthy soundbite that now, as we love to do today, and by the way, I'm going to get a smidge political here, okay? Like, and I mentioned this to my lovely fiance last night at dinner, okay? We're starting to swing back in the other direction, which we kind of need, okay? Because I believe that when the world shut down with COVID and all that, I think there was some real kind of wild reaction, okay? And I think maybe an overreach in certain aspects. I'm not going to get into it all. If you understand, you understand. If you don't, you're free to disagree, okay? And I think the people maybe spoke, right, through a vote for, the presidency. However, I think like in the way society goes, we're coming back the other way, because when she makes those comments and a ton of political pundits on one side run and cherry pick them and use them for whatever they're trying to accomplish, to someone like me who actually sees a topic, lets it swirl around a little bit upstairs, right? And then makes a decision on their own. I'm not here to just be like, oh, this person's saying something, I agree with them. I've seen this young woman's video be hijacked over the last like 24, 48, 72 hours. And I think it's garbage. I do. I think rather than talking about this, we should be talking about the USA women's hockey team, who in a game yesterday, okay, unbelievable. First of all, I got to be honest. We were filming that Inside the 12 show at PGA of America. By the way, PGA of America, I've officially dubbed it the quarter zip capital of the world, the 3/4 zip capital of the world. You can't find a dude walking around that building that's not wearing a 3/4 zip. You can't. I actually had one on last week, and I felt a part of, and this week I didn't have one, and I felt like an outsider, truly. But beautiful facility, awesome people, by the way, just the 3/4 zip capital of the world. So I leave there. I was calling this young guy, a guy who wants to be a future broadcaster, to talk to him a little bit about him. First of all, I don't know why he wants to talk to me, but whatever. And I call him when we were supposed to talk, and he's like, hey, I could tell he was kind of like, I'm like, what's up, man? Good to talk. And he's like, I'm about to watch this overtime. Like, can you call me back? And I was like, dude, of course. And then I put the overtime on, and I was gifted with this amazing experience of watching those young women win a gold medal in an epic, like 8 minutes, 3-on-3. It was perfect, right? And I was very happy to have that opportunity. But that should be the focus, all right? We're going to take a quick break. We got the legend, Jimmer Fredette, waiting backstage. So stoked for this. We're presented by Slovacics. The Pete Sousa Show rolls on after this with the accomplished Jimmer Fredette.
Hey, it's Zach Gelb. We're talking NFL and college football. Plus, we have some of the biggest interviews in sports media. You got to check out the Zach Gelb Show right here on 365 Sports, weekdays, 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 to 3 p.m. Central. And make sure you subscribe to my channel, youtube.com/@ZachGelbShow.
Save big during the Start Something New sales event at Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Waco. Drive a new Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cab with $13,000 off, or choose 0% financing. Get a new Laramie Crew Cab 4-wheel drive with 3.9% financing for 72 months, plus $15,000 off MSRP. Explore in a new Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo, starting at $31,990. Happening now at Allen Samuels.
Come by, let's be friends.
Hi, I'm Jo from Face Theory. You're going to want to have a specific goal for your skincare routine. What do you want to achieve? Active ingredients are really strong, and if you're using too many at once, your skin can get overwhelmed. Don't overspend on products. Choose products that have scientific research behind them. At Face Theory, if you're not happy with a product, just say so, just give us a shout and we'll give you your money back, no problem.
Streamline event and appointment booking with Amelia's sleek, modern, and fully customizable booking forms. Tailor the colors, fonts, and design to match your brand and seamlessly integrate with your WordPress website. Whether it's for events or appointments, Amelia makes booking simple, stylish, and perfectly aligned with your business. Enhance your booking experience today at WPAmelia.com. That's WPAMELIA.com. Amelia.
When you learn a language with Babbel, you start a journey that takes you further and further. Anytime and anywhere you wish. It's easy and fun. Broadens your horizons and keeps your brain fit. A journey into new thoughts, new cultures, new adventures. So what are you waiting for? Start your journey with Babbel now. Go to babbel.com or download the app.
If you want a Boston sports show that's going to insult you as a fan and only cares about getting back at their old hosts or who Bill Belichick is dating, then keep tuning your radio. But if you want a sports show that's wicked good, wicked smart, wicked passionate, then you need the Wicked Boston Show with me, Cam Stewart. It is the only Boston sports talk show that is by the fans and for the fans. One voice in this city where the only BS is Boston sports. The Wicked Boston Show.
BadCreditLoans.com is a pioneering service provider that has carved a reputation in the financial industry for its dedication to helping individuals with bad credit secure loans. By making timely repayments, borrowers can gradually repair their credit history, thereby increasing their chances of securing better loan terms in the future. BadCreditLoans.com serves as a beacon of hope for those with bad credit. Simple, fast, and reliable loan application process. And its commitment to responsible borrowing makes it a trusted partner in the journey towards financial stability.
The Pete Sousa Show, presented by Slovacics, also Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers, Socorro Family Ford. Thanks so much for being a part of this. And Jimmer Fredette, thank you so much for waiting through those commercials, dude. You're the best.
No worries. You got some great sponsors. It looks great.
Well, hey, the more the merrier, right, dude? You know how that works, man. I appreciate you taking some time joining us, especially after such a special weekend for you. On Valentine's Day, hearts were full all over Provo and BYU Nation, and it is a global reach for the Cougars. You get your jersey retired. Can you walk me through what your feeling was on a day like that, where you're a pretty humble guy, and it was probably overwhelming, the attention and the love and the accolades? How did you navigate that, and how did you find that feeling?
It was pretty incredible. You know, to be honest, they did an amazing job of just the detail. Everything was like Jimmer branded. Everything throughout campus, they're wearing all the people on staff are wearing 32 branded shirts, and just like everything was just related around me, which is definitely overwhelming. And I don't love it when it's like that, but I understood. Obviously, it was just a special weekend, and what I most loved about it was that my family was able to be there with me, and my kids were able to be there and kind of experience it. Now that they're a little bit older, they're starting to understand who their dad is and like what BYU means and what that meant to me and to their mom, and that we met there and all of these different things. And a flood of memories came back. It was just really an awesome experience and obviously super emotional.
Yeah, you do a really good job of kind of identifying the fact that you can lean into the celebration for your kids, so they can sort of understand it. That's got to be really cool. I always hear, I remember Kevin Hart talking about, all my kids do is ask me about Chris Rock, he's funny and I'm not, I would imagine it's similar to you. When you're in your own household, you're just another member of the human race. But from almost like a therapeutic standpoint, how do you, Jimmer? Because again, I do want to tap into your humility. Is it awkward sometimes during a moment like that when it's just all about you? Because you want to accept it and enjoy it all, but sometimes it can be hard because it's well deserved, and those people are there. You're bringing them together, and it's bigger than us ultimately. But it's got to feel a little awkward, I would imagine.
Yeah, it can feel a little awkward. I mean, kind of everywhere you go, you walk into the stadium, like I literally just walked in and all of a sudden Jimmer chants started. And, I didn't even do anything. I just walked into the building and all of a sudden the Rock was behind us and there's 7,000 students there and they all just see it and they start chanting and you're just like, man, it's kind of going to happen the whole game, isn't it? Like anytime you look at someone, they're going to kind of be ready to shout your name or say whatever it is. And obviously it's very flattering. That I appreciate all the fans out there that have supported me throughout my career, through the ups and the downs. And BYU Nation obviously has been a huge part of that. So I appreciate it, but it does get a little overwhelming at certain points where, I would love to just watch the game and just hang out and have a quick ceremony and then move on. But it is, like I said, it is an honor. So I tried to soak it all in as much as I can because you don't often get to have something like that happen. And it was one of the more cool experiences that I've had in my career.
And dude, I've been lucky enough to call a bunch of games out in Provo, and that environment, it is special, and it does kind of mean more out there. It's a delightful experience for any broadcaster like me. I'm sure player like you who's helped even further the mission and the cause, and any fan that comes in contact with it. It really is a fruitful experience. I would imagine for you to come back. A lot of times, Jimmer, they'll be like, oh my gosh, like schools will be like, our team stinks. We got nothing going. Like we need like a Jimmer Fredette night, like to a bobblehead or retires jersey, something to generate a little bit of buzz and to move the needle financially. For you, it was the exact opposite. You come home and this team is back where it was, kind of where you left it. How much does it mean to you to see the success of Kevin Young's Cougars and all of that around BYU basketball coming off its first Sweet 16 since your group did it?
Yeah, it's awesome to see. Obviously, my coach was Coach Rose when he was there, and he obviously continued the excellence as that going. And then Mark Pope came in, and they had a couple of really good teams while he was playing and made the tournament and had some really good stuff. And then it just transitioned to another level once Coach Young came into play. And obviously, BYU in general has done a great job with their collective, kind of getting out in front of NIL and understanding what that meant. So they were able to raise great funds and be competitive with some of the blue buds out there as far as finances are concerned. And then also bringing in Kevin Young, who's a pro coach, right? And he runs his system like a professional basketball team would. And because of that, it attracts talent like an AJ, like a Yegor Dielman, these guys that are high level NBA players that are going to get picked in the top 10, obviously in AJ's case, in the top 3 of the draft. And I see that trend continuing to happen just because of the resources, the facilities, the coaching staff, us being out in the national media, being in the Big 12, playing huge games on ESPN and all of these different things. So it's been really fun to see. Obviously they've had some injury, bad luck this year, which is, kind of, a real bummer for them, but they obviously had one of the better teams in the country all year and they're still going to be really good. It's just, they have some tough things going, but it's fun. It's fun for me to see as an alumni. We look at it from a lens of like, wow, BYU is kind of on fire right now. Just the school in general, basketball, football, their cross country team is unbelievable. Their volleyball team's always great. Like soccer, women's soccer had a great run in the tournament this year. So it's really cool to be a Cougars fan and kind of watch it from a fan from my standpoint at this point.
When you're at that game on Saturday night, and it sucks that Richie Saunders got hurt, and that's obviously a bummer. But when you get to see Kevin Young at work, I know you've watched a ton of games. What jumps out at you about that team that strikes you as, oh, this is a remarkable group I'm seeing on the floor now? And no shade at anyone who came before them, but this year's team, what jumps out at you about those guys that you find can help them sort of navigate, right? Losing a guy like Richie Saunders, and you mentioned the other injuries, and take it deep into March.
Yeah, you obviously start at the top with AJ and with Richie. Those two guys, the thing that I love about them, obviously they're great basketball players, but they're there to win. And they make winning basketball plays. And that obviously trickles down to the rest of the team. So when you see Richie out there and he is hustling like he is, and he's out there the one getting offensive rebounds and getting steals and tips and diving on the floor, he's one of your best players. So if you're not doing that, you're not matching his level, then what are you doing? what are you doing out there? So, and then AJ, he's a guy obviously that can score really well, but he loves to make the right play. Like if he's doubled, he's getting off of it and he's throwing it to the right guy and he's making winning plays, blocking shots, playing the defense, wants to play against their best player, do all of these things where it's a winning mentality that they've had from the beginning of the year. And that's why they started 16-1. And obviously we're playing great basketball. And then you get into the Big 12 play and everybody's really good. So you knew you're going to go through some tough stretches. But that's what I loved about that group specifically, is that they just, their top players wanted to win basketball games. It didn't really care necessarily how much they scored. And that definitely trickled down. So it's been fun to watch that.
It was really fun to watch your evolution coming out of New York State, and then finding your way to BYU. I know your sister had graduated from BYU, so that probably facilitated that. Because for people like me from way outside, I'm from Philadelphia. It's just, I'm like, oh wow, going BYU. Yeah. What was that decision like? And how did you find Provo and BYU when you showed up there as a kid from New York?
Yeah, it was different. I obviously a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and being in New York, there was very few of them, right? Very few members out where I was. And then all of a sudden I go to Provo and everybody is a member of our faith, and kind of just a very different dynamic. But I really enjoyed it. I loved it. It was a little bit of a shock at first and everything, but it was a great experience. My teammates really did a great job of putting their arms around me and making them, I had one that was, from Provo, and he knew all the things to do. So I hung out with him a lot, Chris Collinsworth, and we were kind of around hanging out and enjoying our time. And they did a great job of just bringing me in as one of their own. So I felt super comfortable very quickly. And I think that helped. I didn't feel quite as homesick as I thought I was going to, because I was able to make friends fairly quickly. And like you said, my sister was out there, so that actually helped a ton. So I was able to kind of go to her house for Sunday dinners and to just have some type of familiarity. And I think that translates on the court, right? When you feel comfortable, you're happy, you have friends, you're enjoying your time, you're going to play better once you're on the court, just because you're not thinking of other things. You're just thinking about basketball. You're not thinking about being home or being somewhere else or doing what it is. So Provo obviously did a great job. It's like a second home to me now. I had such an incredible 4 years there, and loved every time I go back. I feel that same love. And a lot of the same people that when I was there are still there, administration and coaching, whatever it is. So it was, the transition was smoother because of that, because of my teammates, because of my sister. But it was definitely a change, and it was definitely a risk. I could have gone to Siena College where I grew up. It was about 45 minutes from where I grew up. Coach Fran McCaffrey was there. He loved me. He wanted me to be on the team. They were good at the time. They were making tournament runs. Easily could have done that, but obviously super grateful that I took the risk and went out to BYU, and obviously worked out fairly well.
Yeah, knowing your story, I've always thought about that's like a sliding doors moment. You go to BYU, and Fran's an amazing coach. Yeah. But you go to BYU and you just set it on fire. National Player of the Year. You were meant to play there. Was there a moment in your career early on? I mean, you played so much right from when you arrived on campus, where you knew, wow, I'm on a pretty big stage. I'm scoring a lot. I'm finding my rhythm. Like, I can take this very far, and I can help lead this team to a moment like a Sweet 16 berth in 2011.
Yeah, there was a couple moments early in my career where I was like, okay, I think I can do this. I remember my freshman year, we went and played at Wake Forest, and we were kind of we were, in a little rut to start the game. And I came in and I think I had 4 or 5 threes that game, and was the leading scorer of the team. And it was at Wake, and they were a top 15 team. They had Jeff Teague and, what's his name? Ishmael Smith, and a bunch of NBA players. And I remember I was like, okay, I can play a little bit. But once it really happened, where I was like, okay, we're pretty good, and I'm actually on the national stage now at Arizona my junior year. We went down there. They were a top 15 team. We weren't ranked. They were supposed to beat us pretty good. And I ended up having 49 points, 10 or 11 threes. And we ended up beating them by 30 points at the McHale Center, which does not happen often. And that was when we were like, okay, this is actually something. People are starting to pay attention to us as a team, as a group. I think we can make the tournament this year and actually make a little run in my junior year. And we were able to win a game that year in my junior year and make it to the second round. And then I knew that going into my senior year, everybody was basically coming back and we were prepared and ready for that run. And we were super excited about it. But that Arizona game was definitely one where it felt different than our normal games. Where we're like, okay, this is something that could be for real.
Oh, this is great stuff. Couple more for you, because I know you got a lot going on. When you were just shooting the lights out and you found yourself unconscious, can you describe what it's like to be in that kind of flow state as a shooter? How you get there and what it's like when you're in it?
Yeah, my wife and I were actually talking about this the other day, and it's one of those things where it's hard to explain, but what it feels like is, honestly, it feels like you're kind of just in the gym by yourself practicing. And there are times when you're in the gym practicing with yourself where you're just like, you just don't miss because there's no pressure. You're just kind of in the gym, you're in a rhythm and you're doing it same thing every day. And all of a sudden you just see the ball go in over and over and over again. And it kind of feels like that once you get into that rhythm, when you get into the game, everything slows down. You know that if you get to your spot that you're going to make it, and it doesn't feel like the defense is kind of there. It just feels like, hey, I'm going to be able to get off this screen. And if I see any type of light, just like I'm in practice, this ball's going up. And for some reason, I feel like it's going in. You just have that muscle memory. I think that's the best way to describe it, is like that muscle memory kicks in. So it's just second nature. So you make a move that you've done thousands of times in practice, and then all of a sudden it's up and you feel like it's going to go in. And yeah, it's a special feeling for sure. It just feels like, things kind of happen your way. Even like a loose ball will just show up in your hands and you're like, all right, here it is. I got another open shot. Transition happens where you're running and the guy misses you and you're like, all right, I'm open. And then you hit the shot. So it's just one of those things where things start to work your way. You feel like the defense is kind of not there and you're just playing your hoops when you're in the gym practicing with that muscle memory.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I hope you realize you're like the 0.1% of the population on the planet that knows what that feels
yeah,
like.
Right.
That's why it's cool to ask you and get your answer. When you're going through that magical run, 2011 National Player of the Year, a lot of the focus shifts to BYU and Provo. How much did you use your faith to navigate all the attention and all the stuff that gets a lot of us off track? How did you stay rooted during such a wild season like that, where it was like, honestly, Jimmer, it was like long-term Linsanity before Linsanity. People were always kind of trying to get you and it was positive, but everybody wanted a piece, right? Everybody wanted to know what was going on with this guy.
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, it was, I know exactly when like Jimmermania really like took off and happened. And it was right after we won against San Diego State at home. So we were playing San Diego State. We were top 10. Both of us were top 10. Everybody was watching it. I had a great game. We ended up beating them. And they were undefeated at the time. And the fans rushed the court. And all of a sudden, like I had never been a part of a rushing of the court before. And I was like, man, this is cool. And then all of a sudden, you know what? Actually, this isn't as cool. And everyone's grabbing my jersey and trying to pull me. And I'm like, I got to get out of here. So I go and security pulls me around and I get to the back of this, the scorer stanchion, and the security's around me. And there's just a sea of people looking at me, like chanting my name. And right then that things changed for me. I remember afterwards, I was trying to get out of the arena, and normally I just go out the normal way and go up to my car and I leave and everything is good. And they're like, well, you can't do that today. There's thousands of people out there still waiting. And so at that point, every single time that I went from that point on, they had to drive the car underneath the stadium. My now wife did, to pick me up and drive me out and everything, because it was just crazy. I couldn't go to class. I couldn't do all these different things. Every time on the road, thousands of people were waiting at the bus and at the planes. And it was just wild. And I did not expect it. And my life kind of changed overnight. And then obviously everybody wanted interviews. And, I had to understand how to do real good time management. and figure out what is most important at the time. And for me, my faith really helped me stay grounded and it was started with my parents. They never ever treated me differently than anybody else, even though I was a great basketball player and someone that obviously was a little bit different in that regard. They made sure to understand, like, hey, it doesn't matter what you do. You're a person at your core, and you're going to be a good person, and you're going to treat people the right way, and you need to be kind, and you need to make sure that you're, showing appreciation for those that have helped you. And because I was ingrained in that specifically all the way when I was younger, I just kind of always tried to keep that faith and tried to keep that mindset. And no matter what happened, how big I got or how many games or how many shots, that's not the most important thing. People remember how you treat them and how kind you are, because that's going to stay with you forever. Basketball won't. And so that's how I tried to continue to stay grounded and make sure that I knew, that's not the most important thing, even though it's awesome and I love it and I work hard at it. Make sure you treat people the right way. And that's been a big part of it.
Yeah, and I think that's how you continue to excel, if you're anybody, by keeping perspective on whatever is happening to you in such a positive way. You got to remember, like, what got you there. Fran Fraschilla got you to USA Basketball. How the hell did that, Fran's my man, how did that happen? And how did you establish this role in the 3-on-3 world, which has been really cool to see you be a part of that? I mean, it's gained some steam, and it gets people watching, and I think it makes the play on the floor better. How'd you get involved?
Yeah, so it was interesting. I met Fran a few different times, obviously, before he got me into 3x3, most notably at TBT when he does a lot of TBT stuff. And I talked with him, and then all of a sudden he became one of the head people at USA Basketball for 3x3. And I remember receiving a text from him and just saying, hey, Jimmer, this is right after, one of my China seasons, my last China season while I was there. He's like, hey, would you be interested in, trying 3x3 basketball? I'm one of the people that are trying to get, players to come play. And he's like, it's a possibility that if you play, you could be a part of the Olympics because it's an Olympic sport. And obviously, once I heard Olympics, it perked my ears, right? Because I absolutely love the Olympics. Ever since I was young, I watch every event. I love all of it. Like, I'm one of those people that are annoying because I'll watch everything. And so because of that, I was like, this is really intriguing for me. I never thought I would have a chance to play at the Olympics. That's for the best 5 players in the world. That's not for, someone like myself, even who is a great basketball player, but not quite to that level. Right. So it's one of those things where I was intrigued right away. He called me. He's like, let's go to lunch. He lived in Colorado. I live in Colorado. We went to lunch. He told me about kind of what would happen. And he's like, yeah, we just, we want you for like 5, maybe 6 weeks in summer to get you acclimated, to get you going. And then we'll see how it goes from there. And I was like, I can do that. That'll be great. Let's have an opportunity. And I was like, but I got to ask my wife first, because, for me, I had been gone for so long and I was kind of transitioning of like, all right, let's be home a little bit more. And she was like, all right. I was like, wait, listen, this is what's happening. There's an Olympics possibility with 3x3 basketball. I'm going to be traveling some during the summer. Would it be okay? And she's like, well, where's the Olympics? And I was like, it's in Paris. She's like, okay, we're going to go to the Olympics because I want to go to Paris. And I was like, let's go. I'll do that with you. And so she was all in. Once she was all in, I was all in. And then it was way more than 5 or 6 weeks in the summer. It ended up being about 20 weeks. But it was some of the best times that I've ever had playing basketball, playing with my 3 other teammates who became like brothers to me for the next 2 years. We ended up making the Olympics. And obviously I got injured during the Olympics, which was a really difficult time. But just the lead up and everything that went into it was some of the most memorable times that I've had playing basketball. And now I get to pick the team coming up in 28. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, see, Fran probably could have gotten you to play at St. John's if you guys had kind of been a little earlier at it. He would have had 100%. You, obviously.
He would have. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, last question for you. I called the Kansas-Oklahoma State game a few days ago. A lot of like scuttlebutt around Darren Peterson, and not trying to get negative or anything like that. But if you could tell a guy like that, a young prospect who has so much attention on him right now, It's funny because Jimmer, going to practice, let me break something to you. Going to practice and being around Bill Self, like, it's very clear, like, they're cohesive. They like each other. They like him a lot. He likes them. But it's a funky situation. What would you tell a guy like that, or Darren Peterson, if he were to ask you for advice on how to kind of move through all this? Because getting ready for the game, we dive so much into preparation. There were like 15 negative stories to every positive story. And I'm thinking, well, this is wrong, because this is an amazing guy to watch play, and he's a good kid. So I'm curious what someone like you would tell him.
Yeah. By all accounts, I've heard that he's an awesome kid. I don't know him personally, but from what I've heard, he's a really good dude. And that wasn't the narrative for him coming out of high school, right? He was top 2, top 3, kid coming out of high school, and was a great player, right? So that wasn't the narrative. It's just once he got to Kansas, and obviously he dealt with some injuries, right? Some legitimate injuries. And I think that has scared him a little, and also his agent a little bit, of like, hey, let's make sure that we just keep ourselves healthy to make sure that we're prepared for the NBA, obviously, because that's his aspiration. And I understand that he's going to be a top 2 pick. And I would tell him, obviously, from my perspective, is to make sure, you got to get out in front of it a little bit more. Just talking about, hey, listen, this is what's happening. This is why I have a legitimate injury that I'm trying to deal with, and I've had cramps, and I've had other things that have happened, just to try to spin the narrative of like, listen, I'm not playing. It's not that I'm not playing because I don't want to play, or because I, am selfish, or any of these things. It's legitimate things that are possible, for me to further injure myself. And I don't want to put myself in harm's way from that perspective. But as soon as I am fully ready to go, I am going to be out there playing as much as I can, trying to help my team and my teammates. And as that I'm progressing and getting better, I'm going to be on the bench, and I'm going to be the best teammate. I'm going to be up cheering for guys. I'm going to be doing all these things. Like, sometimes the perspective of how you're, seeing yourself on the bench and all of these different things matter. And I think that would be my best thing of advice. And then obviously, once you get out there, go crush it. And he does. Like, he plays extremely well when he's on the floor. And I think, towards the end of this year, come Big 12 play and tournament time, he's going to be out there playing as much as he can. And I think if he goes out and plays really well and plays hard, that narrative can change pretty quickly. I think it's just maybe controlling the narrative a little bit more.
Dude, Jimmer, I thank you so much for the time. And you hit on a great point. I think it's kind of like, it's just like he doesn't want to get nicked up again, and it's in his head a little bit. And it's like, hey, we got to remember, these guys are all parts, a member of the human race, just like the rest of us. Yeah. And stuff goes on, and, he's working through it. But anything you want to promote, anywhere people can find you, anything you got going on?
Yeah, some fun things going on. Yeah. Not anything too specific. I do have a podcast that we just started recently called From the Logo. So if anybody wants to go check that out,
it's really good. Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun. But other than that, I just enjoy being on. Thanks for having me on, Pete. And we'll have to do it again sometime soon.
Jimmer Fredette, man. Thanks so much, dude. I really appreciate it.
No problem. We'll see you soon.
Okay, bud. How about that? From the Logo. Make sure you check it out. Please like, subscribe. We got a guy like Jimmer hanging out with us. We'll try to make it worth his while somewhat. Cam Stewart, how about that, dude? It's always neat when a dude like that is as cool as advertised.
I mean, that was awesome. I'm not allowed, as the producer of the Pete Sousa Show with the big names that we get on here, I'm not allowed to be starstruck anymore. But Jimmer Fredette hits me like right in the perfect spot, like the perfect time in my life, and like Jimmermania and all of that. So needless to say, I was very excited for that, and he delivered, man. That was awesome. Like, getting in the headspace of where Jimmer was when that whole thing took off it's wild. Like, I don't want to be one of those guys that says, oh, we don't have the folk heroes anymore, but we don't have them as much. Like, that thing was so real. I think you put it actually really well. It was like Linsanity for a whole year.
Yeah.
It was huge, man. Like, I grew up a fanatical Duke fan, but I was in the driveway, saying, at guard, a 6'3" senior from Glens Falls, New York, number 32, Jimmer Fredette. Yeah. Like, that was my dude. I think I adminned a Facebook page for Jimmer Fredette fans
No.
as an 8th grader. I checked it this morning. It doesn't exist anymore, but I did do that.
That is, by the way, that is the sports sweet spot for guys like me and you, at least. Like 8th grade, you're very impressionable. You haven't gotten too social yet. You're not really chasing girls. Like that is all there is to life, was like college basketball, college football, the NFL. I totally relate.
And I mean, I was that's when I was watching college basketball every night, every night, and staying up on the weekends at least to watch these BYU games. And the San Diego State matchups were like appointment television. They were billed for like a whole week for these two Mountain West teams, but it was Jimmer and Kawhi. And it was like, I could go on all day about my admiration for Jimmer Fredette. I last thing though, I loved that he was from a small town. Like the town the same size as mine. I grew up in a small town. I was
about to ask you that, like the Northeast connection probably made him even more relatable.
So all of that, man, like small town, public high school, which you don't get anymore. AJ DeBonce is not playing at Brockton High. He's playing at something called Utah Prep before he goes. You know what I mean? They're all playing at Montverde or wherever. But he played at his local high school in his town of 14,000. And like people came from all over to see him play. Like that's the kind of stuff we don't get anymore. And like, even then it was fleeting, the good players around New England in the Northeast were playing at Tilton and Brewster. They weren't playing at Glens Falls High School. So it was so organic. It took over. It was a huge deal. And honestly, I think you can give some credit to Jimmer Fredette for the way that the game is played today. Steph Curry and Steve Kerr will always get the most credit, and they should, right? Like they truly changed it. But Jimmer was the first one kind of taking shots 5 or 6 times a game that everyone was clutching their pearls over. You can't shoot from that far out. And he hit it enough that kids wanted to shoot from that far out. And it's just a legend, an absolute legend, a folk hero, truly.
And what a neat deal. He was like, like a guy you bumped into over at the HEB. I mean, he really was that. He's just that.
Yeah.
We talked about being able to connect with athletes. Like that guy's pretty the opposite of our buddy Gu. Like, who I think is just being misunderstood right now. He's a guy that's just so easy to like. Like Mick Cronin. I couldn't be disgusted with someone anymore right now. And in all fairness, I don't know the guy from Adam. I just know what I see, and it's like really easy not to like him. I think if you sat me down and I had lunch with Mick Cronin in a normal environment, I'd come away loving him and quoting him. But boy, are the optics terrible.
But it also needs to be put out there, Pete, that you are much nicer than the average person. So the average person might have lunch with Mick Cronin and might still not like him. But
but I do. Real quick. I think there's also, I'm also kind of smart, as stupid as I am.
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
Like, because I think people have things to offer us that right away, if we find something that if you can compare yourself out from someone, be like, this person's not like me, they suck. I think you can miss the magic sometime. Mm-hmm. That's all I'm saying. But Mick Cronin sucks right now. So
sucks right now. That was ridiculous the other day. That was
it was ridiculous. I mean, anything else going on you want to talk about? Or we talked about the girls real quick. I got the cable guys here.
Oh, geez. Well, I don't want to.
Well, what we're trying to do. Sorry, we haven't gotten too much in the comments today, guys. What we're doing is we're getting a hard line in here. So this picture will be like perfect.
Look at this, man.
No, because when you do. I notice it and I handcuff someone like you because when you do the clips, like I called you the other day, I was like, hey, Rick Barry looks like the Mona Lisa. And I look, well, I guess Mona Lisa's not good, but the Rick Barry's like HD and I'm like, like UHF. So I'm figuring this out, come hell or high water.
I love it, man. I love it. Once you get Jimmer Fredette on the show, and I know we got some big guests next week, you gotta take these measures. You gotta get the cable guy in here.
Next Tuesday,
he's probably got a Jimmer story.
Next Tuesday, Jay Wright. Okay.
That's
cannot wait. Visser, thank you so much. Chris Visser, in my opinion, best producer in all of America. And, you know, sometimes people don't necessarily understand what they have till they don't have it anymore. I understand what I have. All right. And I hope the people around us understand what we have at the Rogue Media Network. Okay. And Chris Visser, and especially Cam Stewart. You know, we're on a roll here. And I got a game on Sunday. Memphis and UAB, ESPN2, noon start. The reason I bring up the Sunday game is to say that I have no games midweek next week. So we're going to be doing the same thing right on time at 10 a.m., crushing it with awesome guests. Please be a part of this. And like and subscribe, all the deals. Okay. Cam Stewart, thanks so much. Cam, I don't even have to talk to you. I know you'll do magical things with that Jimmer interview. I might put Gu up. It will see what happens with them. And yeah, we'll see you guys on Monday. Thank you.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is stark.
Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. NALGENE.com.
Our professionals are not only experts in managing urgent concerns, but also in providing top-notch preventative health care. We're proud to connect pet owners to a vast network of licensed veterinary professionals, ready to address any immediate concerns. Book your first appointment today.
Sports.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.